After the events of the champion, as Ash has pretty much defeated Drake and kinda becoming an Orange League champion. And Ash is quite proud of himself, but most importantly his Pokemon, that they managed to get to the level of a champion. And Cassidy and Giselle is quite surprised that Ash has finally did it, but unfortunately they still need to the level of Professor Oak's GS ball, and Ash is completely forgot about it as they should get back to Paletown. But unfortunately for the two, as Tracy and Ash finds out that Giselle is wanting to stay at Professor Ivy's lab because she finally figured out what she's been missing out. She is a student in a very unknown place where people teach trainers of our Pokemon, and that's what she wants to be, a thief. To become a professor of her own, but to do that, she needs to be taught by a professor, and she wants to be assistant with Professor Ivy. And Ash and Tracy does actually likes that idea for Jessie because she might find a way her good passion in life where she might be happy. But unfortunately, it does to get emotional for her because they have to say goodbye, but not for the last time. As Tracy and Ash go back all the way to Kanto to Paladin, as finally Professor Oak has finally received the GS for that he has been patiently waiting for. And of course, Tracy becomes geeks out where he meets Professor Oak. But as they are going to talk much more later, and Ash is really wanting to catch up, and luckily Professor Oak, the kind man that he is, gives Ash up to speed what's going on since his left his challenge in the Orange Island. He found out that his mom is doing okay, but most of the trainers that Ash knows, like AJ, the Pokemon Samurai, and of course Gary Oath, including Richie, are going to challenge the Kanto League. And right now, Ash is hearing that he's quite behind and not wanting to left behind from his rival, and especially Gary that he never really beat. Ash plans to go to the can planning on to go to Johto. Once Ash finds out that his rivals are going to Johto, and that's where Ash is going towards because he likes to go on a new journey because his goal of becoming a Pokemon champ master isn't truly over. As Ash managed to get his as Ash managed to give his mother a heads up on his next destination, and not forget to giving some brand new clothes in a brand new pack. As Ash is a bit embarrassing, but still loves his mother regardless. As the next day, and not to mention, as Professor goes, since Ash is going to Johto, he has a friend there that Ash would like for him to give the GS ball to the Pokeball Master, and Ash never heard of him, but the information that he can get from Professor Go is the guy who's been making Pokeballs and pretty much make specific Pokeball to make specific types of Pokemon much more easier. And with that, Ash has no excuse but to go on his journey. But before he does, he drops off a few Pokemon that he thinks that he doesn't need in exchange to bring some Pokemon that will be helpful in Johto. Maybe a Pokemon that could take him in the seas, and a Pokemon that would take him in the sky, taking Lapras and Aerodactyl for a bit. Now, of course, he can't forget about Venusaur, and Ash wants to walk out with Scyther because Ash is so close to reaching Scyther's full potential. After perhaps a few days, and Ash has officially arrived to Johto, and immediately Ash is quite amazed that a few new Pokemon is just the other side of Kanto that Ash has pretty much never knew about, but regardless, he's quite excited as Ash is pretty much rushing through the region, seeing all types of Pokemon that he never truly discovered until he sees a trainer in the far distance. It seems to be a 10-year-old kid girl, as she is using a weird Pokemon Ash never used. But he knows that one the trainer is calling its name, known as a Chikorita, as this trainer is battling a widow that Ash is pretty know about the bug Pokemon. But with even though this trainer is some sort of rookie, and Ash could clearly see a few mistakes on her part, but regardless, the trainer managed to capture it. And once the trainer managed to capture Wheatle as Casey grabs the Pokemon and pretty much celebrating with the Pokemon, but Cassie sees a strange that he has never seen the side of Johto, and suspiciously she immediately think it's probably that weird trainer looking in the lab, even though she never saw it, but regardless he never sees it. So he's going to confront this guy, which is Ash, and Ash and Casey pretty much admits like the original, but this time it's a bit more hostile because Ash is a much more experienced Pokemon trainer, and he's pretty much making fun of Casey being a rookie and supporting a team called the Electabuzz who pretty much never won the baseball league. And because of that, Casey demands for a challenge from this guy, thinking that he could just brags about him as Casey sends out Chikorita, who's been already sent out to battle, as Ash pretty much destroys and sent out Venusaur. And clearly, there's no match for Casey and her Chikorita, as Venusaur pretty much use a powerful sludge bomb, pretty much knocking Chikorita in one hit. As Casey has no other choice but to grab a Pokemon and pretty much ran towards the a direction, and Ash quickly wanted to stop her for some direction on where he could get to find Professor M, but Casey already ran away, and Ash simply grudged to herself as he returns Venusaur back. This is going to be annoying, and after a few hours, it would be quickly if he can get that train of personnel. But luckily, Ash managed to return to a village that Professor has been telling him to and going towards a lab some sort and meeting a man in a similar clothing like Professor Oak seems to be Professor M, and Professor M is pretty much treating a injured Chicory that has been damaged pretty badly, and Cassie is worrying about it until she quickly turns to see Ash again and quickly points out to Professor M it's this guy. Look, he's and I'm pretty sure it's this guy who's been looking in the labs for some days, but Professor M quickly shuts Casey down because he exactly know who is this trainer, as he had a call from Professor Oak last a few days ago as Ash would be a rival, and Casey is quite confused and pretty embarrassed that he thought he'd catch Guy but mistook Ash for another person entirely. And Ash questions who is this guy looking on his left, and finding out it's the trainer that's recently stole one of his Pokemon starter that unfortunately one the trainer didn't have the opportunity to get because it's pretty much the last Pokemon that he had. And Casey here is wanting to help around the app and taking responsibility on one day returning the stolen Pokemon back to me. And but the problem is that Casey is trying to go to the gym challenge, but she also wants to find out this trainer, which is a pretty document. But regardless, Casey is determined to beat the league, gather all 8 badges, and stop the trainer that stole Professor Elm's starter Pokemon. After that exchange, as Professor Elms gives him Ash a map to the coordinates where he could meet the Pokeball Master, and Ash finds out there's a gym leader nearby, and Ash, since he's going to challenge the Johto League, it wouldn't mind to hurt. It wouldn't hurt to make a quick stop to get to the gym. Pretty much wants to try out, and Professor doesn't have any ejection, but quickly looks over Cassidy looking over her Chikorita, and Professor M had a thought and suggests for Casey to to come a journey with Ash. And Casey and Ash quickly is a shock, and Casey quickly doesn't want this proposal. Professor M quickly suggests since Casey only has 6 months to enter the league, and not to mention that the other trainers are already getting her badges while she is perhaps the least talented trainer, but he knows that she has the biggest heart and he knows that Casey could do it. And Casey grudgingly accepts this proposal, and Ash doesn't have a she's a bit annoyed but doesn't argue, just mostly because Ash just finds her annoying. And once Casey leads Ash to the nearest Pokemon Center, which is a good thing because it's almost getting to nightfalls as the two quickly made it to the Pokemon Center as Ash gives the most joy his Pokemon, including Casey, who pretty much only had two Pokemon on her. And Casey looks at Ash a bit funny. You think having two Pokemon is a joke or something, and Ash quickly puts up his hand in defense. Well, I'm not judging you since you're new to Pokemon battles. It's normal to get the first Pokemon, and catching other Pokemon will come early. And Casey is surprised that Ash is a bit more careful about it, but also Ash also still brags about after capturing one, he caught a lot more after that, feeling Casey to be more dreadful. But later in the night, there was a small siren alerting everyone in the Pokemon Center. It seems like someone is stealing some supplies in the back room. And since Casey and Ash are the only Pokemon trainers with actual Pokemon on hand, as they suggest to look at it, and especially for Cassidy rushing or thinking it's perhaps the guy that stole the Pokemon from Professor M. And we plan now to see a redhead person manage to scoop up a few Pokemon supplies that he money wise that he didn't have the luxury to have until Cassidy and Ash steps forward and they demand who is this guy stealing important supplies. As the redhead trader talk doesn't talk and simply sending out his Pokemon to battle a Totodile, and Casey immediately recognized this Pokemon. It's one of Professor M's Pokemon, leading to the two to finally found the thief that stole the Pokemon. As the redhead is called Silver, and he's not going to mess around. As Ash is prepared to send out a Pokemon until Cassie puts her head in front of her and wanting to take care of this guy. This is personal, and Ash doesn't want her ego to get in the way, but it seems like this is really personal as Cassie sends out to Chikorita to battle. Even though Silver is pretty much using Totodile perhaps a few times, well, compared to Casey with Chikorita, who has been spending the 2 weeks together, but unfortunately there's one thing that she lacks. This Pokemon known as Silver seems to be very talented and is quite aware of the type advantage, and which forces him to use Totodile's bite advantage by learning a new move pretty early than you would expect, learning a powerful bite attack, and does manage to put on Chikorita, leaving Jesse to be quite surprised, and Ash is had enough with us and sending out Saito to battle. And unlike with Casey and Chikorita, Ash and Saito have a huge advantage over Totodile and Silver, to the point where Saito managed to knock Totodile with a powerful Xatu, as Ash and Jess and Cassie managed to put Silver in a corner until a smoke bomb appears in the middle as the smoke bomb covers the whole area, giving Silver enough time to make his escape. As Ash and Jesse simply gritted their teeth in anger as they let the guy get away. And Ash is a bit angry, realizing looking down at the smoke bomb, revealing to have a red R and revealing a tight team muttering to himself Team Rocket as we plan to assert that character as Silver managed to get away. But unfortunately he is much more angry because he exactly knew who are they. Butch and Cassidy come out already from your hiding as the two Team Rocket members are a bit mad at Silver. He should be grateful that they managed to save him, but Silver never wants their help, and especially Team Rocket. And unfortunately, that's not what Silver can control because Butch and Cassie is directly ordered for the boss, directly from the boss to watch over him, and this gets Silver to be quite mad at them as he just simply tries to walk away, but unfortunately, Butch and Cassidy are far behind, watching very closely onto him. After the events from last night, as Cassie and Ash continue on their journey, and this is the first time since Cassie is way beyond from her home, because usually at the point where she normally returns, but this time she goes farther, and she is quite excited, and even seeing a few Pokemon that she thought she might never see, to the point where she has a Pokemon catching fee, as she did desires to catch every Pokemon that she could physically see, and Ash, on the other hand, is quite frustrated from her since last night from Team Rocket, and not to mention Cassie is making it harder for Ash for him to catch a new Pokemon, and it's getting to Ash quite a lot because Casey's already catching two new Pokemon while Ash didn't have a chance. Not until a figure jumps through the grass, seeing as a cynical, and Ash puts out a Pokédex, finding the information, and Cassidy points out since a wild cynical is quite rare, it's one of the starters from Johto, and before Cassidy could do anything, Ash already throws a Pokemon sitting outside there, and Ash simply grits to her, this time you're not getting this one, as he commands Scyther to do a powerful aerial ace. And unfortunately for the fire starter, it's facing up against a powerful trainer Ash and with a powerful Pokemon Scyther. And even though Cynical has the type advantage, which Scyther quickly used its ability and strength to overwhelm Sinjul until a attack coming from the other forest seems to be another wild Pokemon, but this time it seems to be an Urshiray using a powerful hammer arm, and this gets Ash and Casey quite surprised until it realizes this Urshiray isn't a wild Pokemon because it puts its direct focus on Cynical, which gives the idea that someone else is trying to get Cynical. But unfortunately, Ash and Scyther are much more faster, as Ash attempts to throw a Pokeball until another trainer throws a Pokeball, and not sure which Pokemon hits because it was sitting in the grass and they did her thing, and Ash quickly picks up the Pokemon until another trainer. Hold it, that's my Pokemon. I've been hunting this down since this very morning and yesterday, and it seems to be a familiar trainer at Ash known as AJ, and AJ quickly changes the minute to a harsh one to be a much more friendly one, as Ash and AJ simply shake their hands, seeing it is great to see each other. But as Ash also introduces Casey a new rookie trainer to Johto, but AJ isn't too focused on her because he doesn't want to waste his time on weaklings, as this does get Casey to be quite angered by AJ. But regardless, AJ is still mad that he's because he did hunt down Cynical all day, and Ash also caught it in the Pokeball. And Ash has a suggestion: why not we don't have a Pokemon battle for it? Whoever whoever beats a one keeps Cynical, and AJ wanting an opportunity to showcase case and to show Ash how far he's been improving, as AJ pretty much accept Ash's proposal, as AJ and Ash gets a far enough distance for a sizable battle, as both of them put down their backpack, and Ash is giving Casey Cynical as a some sort of prize as the two ready for their Pokemon. As both trainers agree a one-on-one for the victim to receive the Pokemon starter known as Cinequan, as AJ is thinking of sending out other Pokemon that he's been recently training, but he also wants to try out his newest capture, which is his Strength to Battle, as the Strength simply grows in the battlefield, and Ash isn't know much about this Pokemon. Heck, he's only been here for about a week and he doesn't know anything about the new Pokemon here. So Ash is simply to scan the Pokemon and finding out it's some sort of normal type, but Ash can tell this Earthstring is quite powerful, and especially if Asia of all people is training this behemoth of a Pokemon, which leaves Ash with few little options. Even though Ash has some Pokemon that he has been with since the start of his journey, but unfortunately he might know that AJ would know Ash's Pokemon by now. So also Ash is going to follow suit by sending out a Pokemon that AJ may not know how to approach by sending out Lapras to battle, and AJ is quite surprised that Ash has captured a very rare Pokemon in Kanto, but that won't stop him as he commands for Earthstring to hit it hard with a power slash attack, as Batik feels some Pokemon simply charge into his Lapras and dig into its core with a powerful slash attack, but luckily Lapras is a quite tanky Pokemon, and even though it's not too comfortable battling outside of water, but recently Lapras has been handling pretty well and comfortably, and allowing to unleash a powerful Ice Beam attack in close quarters as the two move exchange and two Pokemon is still readying for battle and both trainers know this. So AJ is just going to be aggressive as he commands for Earthstring to do a powerful hammer arm, which should be super effective against an ice type like Lapras, but to AJ's surprise, quickly countering with a powerful Hydro Pump, which does stagger Earthstring a bit, giving enough time for Lapras to do a powerful body slam, but unfortunately the Earthstring is simply a bit too strong for Lapras to use its weight over against Earthstring, as Earthstring simply pushes through and lands for a vicious hammer arm, which does critically hit Lapras, which gives Ash a bit worried but not overly, because Ash has a secret weapon, because him and Lapras has been trying out a new move recently, and wanting Lapras to have a night type coverage as Ash commands for a powerful Thunderbolt. And even though Lapras has been practicing this particular electric type move, it's still not able to master it as the Thunderbolt simply did hit Earthling, but it doesn't seem to be quite powerful as Earthling just took the damage and simply commands for a powerful rock tomb as the Lapis overbuff is hit by powerful rocks on top of it, which is super effective. And not only that, it seems to slowing down Lapis as it struggles to go through the rocks that Earthling has created, leaving AJ a big advantage, and AJ simply grins and commands for Earthling to power up with bulk up as the Earthling simply fists both of his hands into his chest, trying to power up its next attack. And Ash doesn't like too much, but clearly has an idea and commands for Lapis to do an ice beam, but covering Beatrix's feet, which does mobilize Beatrix, which struggles to move, forcing her to heavily ride to try to get himself free from the ice cage, giving Lapis enough courage to get after the rocks and land a powerful thunderbolt. And that seems to hit true, but unfortunately for AJ, this thunderbolt seems to paralyze the bear. Simply is in a static situation, leaving it paralyzed from the thunderbolt. And Ash thinking this should be a huge advantage and commanding for Lapras to do our powerful Hydro Pump. Even though Lapras managed to hit a huge damage against Beartick, but unfortunately the Ferris didn't kick in as Ushering this simply charges through with a powerful slash attack. But to Ash is a bit weird because that slash did too much damage than it should have, even as you suspect. And Edgy points out bad it also ranks his ability gut. If he gets the status, it power ups his physical attack, which Ash gladly give him, and Ash simply fist bumps himself, being such an idiot for giving and uttering a power up, which not only that is also stacking up bulk of giving uttering an overwhelming advantage as uttering just uses rock to trying to trap Lapras, and Lapras is in a corner where it's simply trapped, and uttering simply charges with a powerful air bomb, landing a one-shot move here. And then Ash, thinking he has nowhere for Lapras to safely to get away, enter Ash has a crazy idea that just might work. The moment that Ursula is about to hit, Ash's commands for Lapras to use Hydro Bomb, but pointed on the ground as Lapras simply use a huge water-like cannon and able for Lapras to lift herself up from the air, shocking both or everyone, AJ, Ursering, and even Jesse, watching at the stand in quiet amazement as the Lapras in the air has more momentum and allowing herself to use the strongest body slam that she could ever do, slamming into Batik as Batik is simply unconscious as Lapras is on top of him, leaving Ash to be the victor. Once Ash defeated AJ in a Pokemon battle, AJ seems to be quite mad. He thought that he has recently gotten stronger to the point where he could match Ash, but apparently he needs to do more training, which kinda gets him excited because at least he knows he's not hitting his limits, and Ego even wants to once and for all beat Ash. But Ash, getting a little cocky, says, "AJ, it doesn't matter how many times you try, I'll always be better," which gets AJ to be a bit angry at Ash as he just walks away as Casey gives Ash his newest Pokemon Cynical, and Casey asks Ash, "Don't you think you're being a bit too harsh?" And AJ just simply shows and grabs Cynical's Pokeball and just suggests that AJ has been we've been I've been battling AJ since the very early in my journey, and he has never beaten anyone. So it's not my problem. He's not getting in my level, which gets Casey to be a bit worried, but not questioning Ash because to her she doesn't know better because it seems like Ash is the strongest thing that she currently knows, and she's not going to argue that. And once the two trainers continue on their journey, as the next adventure where the two trainers sees a scientist hiding in the bush and doing some weird experiment, and looking up it seems to that he's doing some sort of test on a wild Pokemon on top of the trees. It seems to be Xatu, and but once Ash pulls out the Pokédex to learn information, and he noticed there's a slight color change from the Pokemon, and Ash has never seen this before, and Casey heard about these because there are some Pokemon that they're born with different color, but they're extremely rare Pokemon, just as rare as some legendary, which Ash is quite intrigued by this, as the scientist is simply trying to capture it by tricking it by using confusion on a mirror. But it seems like Xatu is a bit too smart for the scientist and simply pretended to be hit by his own attack, and Xatu simply attack it with a powerful side beam attack, as this forces the scientist to back up a bit, which gives Xatu enough time to escape. And Ash and Casey questions the scientist's weird method of trying to capture, but he explains that this Xatu is quite unpredictable because in his recent study, it seems like this Xatu can predict events. And Ash questioned that there's no way this Pokemon could predict what's happening, and the scientist knows that it's impossible, but he found out since Xatu is a species unknown to predict events, especially being a psychic type, which gives this very unique Xatu to predict the future, and the scientists wanting to desperately capture it. But Ash points out that even though he's a brilliant scientist, but there's one problem: he's not a Pokemon trainer, because if he was, he would have easily caught the Pokemon. And the scientist, a bit angered by this kid, thinking he can just, or he knows better than him, and and decided he's going to do the do Ash's approach and just try attempting to battle and sending out Noctowl to bat the next time it sees. And the next day they did see it, but unfortunately, even though the scientist has a strong looking Pokemon Noctowl, but unfortunately he's lack of experience in battling, and not especially to Zaku's unusual way of battling is simply waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike back hard. As I see Zaku's few moves, and one that caught his eyes is Future Sight, and Xatu weirdly is waiting for that attack to land on Knockdown, which the Future Sight did land, knocking out Knockdown, and decided to be in a formal mess. And Ash decided, let me try on capturing this Pokemon, and he gave the scientist the opportunity, but just simply couldn't, as Ash simply sends out Scyther to battle, and thinking Scyther's bug should give him some sort of benefit, but Ash quickly Eh, but Ash quickly encountered that Xatu isn't just a wild Pokemon. This Pokemon seems to be quite intelligent, and seemingly it's predicting everything that Ash and Scyther could do to Xatu. But luckily, there's one thing Ash and Scyther has a one advantage: it's experience in the battle with harder Pokemon. And because of it does give Scyther a slight advantage, that Xatu's future sight prediction isn't always purposely accurate and forces her to heavily rely on his strongest moves future sight, which Ash quickly puts down Xatu with a powerful accessor, which Ash allows himself to capture Xatu in the Pokemon as he has a fifth member in his party, which surprised the scientist greatly and quickly hurt his pride, but simply accept the fact that he should have been a better Pokemon trainer because of it. And even though he is quite mad at Ash, but he respects Ash of what he did what he couldn't do. And at this point, somewhere in the original anime and in this different alternative timeline, Ash would meet Faulkner like in the original, but there's one difference. Since Ash doesn't have Charizard that Faulkner requested, but the Ash does have a very powerful flying depth that he does have him on him, and Faulkner requests that Ash uses his adapter in his gym battle with it because he desperately wants to try out his skill on a ancient flying type Pokemon in the past, and Ash doesn't have objective towards it. And recently, he hasn't been using Erecta because it seems like Erecta is becoming one of his toughest Pokemon, and he only wants to bring out a challenge that Erecta that he can really get his grip on, and Ash has no problem facing Wagner with Aerodactyl as they move on to his gym leader as Ash is waiting for Wagner to send out the first Pokemon. As the referee commands for a 3-on-3 as Wagner and Ash are seeing one another and ready for the 3-on-3 as Wagner seems confidently sending out his Noctowl to battle. And Ash has seen this Pokemon before as he's seen Ace the scientist use this before, but the clear difference is this Noctowl seems to be much more bigger than the scientist, and Ash expecting that Wagner has been training this Noctowl pretty well, and Ash won't let that fact overwhelm Ash as Ash decides that he's going to try out a new Pokemon that he's been recently catching as he sends out as Ash decides to send out his own new flying type to the battle, sending out Xatu, and Warden is quite surprised that Ash has catch one of the Johto region of Flyers here, and Faulkner is quite excited for the battle, including Ash. Once the battle starts, as Faulkner commands for Noctowl to do a powerful Ash Slash, and Ash tries to command to dodge it out the way and command for powerful Side Beam, but Ash is going to be in trouble because Xatu doesn't even attempt to move, which kind of throws Ash off here because Xatu isn't attempting to listen to Ash and just simply does his own thing by simply moving out of the way and using a much more different move entirely by just using Future Sight and Xatu is simply following its instinct, leaving Ash to be frustrated and wants the two flyers possibly in an air-to-air combat. But even though Ash thinks that he might have another Aerodactyl problem, until Ash has thought of something, Xatu isn't not trying to listen to Ash, not just because he hates Ash or no or nothing, but Xatu seems to be intelligent Pokemon. Because to Xatu, he sees a better way of approaching Wagner's Noctower. And even though Noctower seems to be in control by using roots to heal itself and hitting it big with a powerful acrobatics, but unfortunately, Zatu is slowly winning the battle by trying to confuse Noctowl by using confuse word. And once Ash commands for an Ash Slash, Zatu does actually listen because that is the best situation in the moment and lands a powerful Ash Slash. And not only that, that future set has finally reached as it attacks Noctowl. And to the surprise of everyone, this powerful move seems to knocked out, leaving Faulkner to be quite surprised. Even though the battle was intense, but unfortunately he just felt like Zatu and Ash wasn't truly in sync. It was and felt like Zatu was mostly doing most of the work, and sometimes it listened to Ash. Even including Ash that he's feeling frustrated, but he's not going to argue the fact that Zatu did win the battle for him. But unfortunately, once Faulkner sends out a Pokemon that Ash isn't too familiar, and once he pulls out a Pokédex, finding out it seems to be a Murkrow, and Ash finds it out that it's not just a flying type but also a dog type, and this might be Ash's first time hearing about a dog type, and Ash is quite excited for the battle meeting a new type, as Ash simply commands for Zard to do a powerful side beam, but everyone sees this as a dumb move, and even Zatu just look at Ash, looking him quite confused towards Ash, and Ash isn't sure the looks on everyone as Jesse as Giselle back in the sun yelling out that psychic types have no effect on dark types like Murkrow, leaving Ash to be quite surprised. It doesn't take too long to find out that the archetypes like Murkrow has a huge advantage on a psychic type like Xatu, as Murkrow there doesn't waste too much time and landing for a powerful sucker punch to knock out Xatu quite effectively, forcing Ash to return his Pokemon, and deciding that he wants the momentum back to his favor, sending out Cyndaquil in the process. And this time, however, unlike Xatu, who used to battle for its own, Cyndaquil on the other hand is more willing to listen to Ash, as Cyndaquil simply uses Smokescreen to get Marco to be confused and then landing for a powerful tackler attack and then manage to dodge all the way from the psychic punch with a fast quick attack. And Ash confidently having the momentum panzer commanding for Cyndaquil to use Ember. But for once Cyndaquil seems to be looking to Ash a bit stumped, and it's pointed out that Cyndaquil doesn't know any fire type moves, and this lets Ash a bit shocked by this, giving Faulkner for a big opportunity for his powerful aerial ace, knocking out Cyndaquil in the process, leaving Ash with one more Pokemon left. Even though that Ash pretty much found that Cyndaquil can't even learn any fire types, but that loss that Ash has gotten won't overwhelm him, as Ash is still pretty confident that he has one powerful Pokemon left and sending out Aerodactyl. And even though Faulkner has finally is about to face a ancient flying type Pokemon, as Murkrow tries his best to attack Aerodactyl, but unfortunately it seems Aerodactyl's overwhelming power is too much for Mudcrow, as Aerodactyl just used a powerful rock slide to pretty much finish the battle for Ash, forcing Faulkner for one Pokemon left as he sent out his strongest Pokemon because he's not going to hold back as he sent out Pidgeot to battle. And immediately Aragdata noticed a strong opponent, and unlike Merkel, which kinda bored him, and this time, however, Aragdata seems to be excited, including it, and once the referee starts the battle, the two Pokemon quickly go off in the air, immediately a Sky Battle pursues, as even though Aragdata seems to have the type advantage, but unfortunately PG seems to be more faster than the two, easily outpacing Aragdata by using powerful moves like S slash to hit at adapted distance and quickly get in with a powerful quick attack after quick attack, as Aragdata does command for a powerful rock slide, as Pidgeot is struggling to dodge the rocks in the air, which some does hit them hit its wing. Unfortunately, Wagner quickly commands for Roos to get Pidgeot to quickly hit himself and quickly get back to the battle and landing a powerful air slashes after air slashes, forcing Aradak to be in an angry state. In fact, in his berserk state, giving Aradak to be more in a vicious state as Aerodactyl lands for a powerful aerial ace which does hit PGR and seems like a rage is forcing it to get faster. Its Faulkner is quite surprised on that as simply smirk as this is why Aerodactyl wins him important battles because the moment Aerodactyl is about to lose its rage just keeps it in the battle as Ash commands for one powerful Giga Impact as Aerodactyl is in a tight space and circling around. It's trying to directly hit Pidgeot, but Faulkner t- tries tries for Pidgeot to dodge out of the way, but unfortunately, Aerodactyl is like a heat-seeking, which forces Faulkner to command for Pidgeot to go on the offense full out by using Steel Wing, and thus Grace managed to quickly dodge at the last second so that Pidgeot is out of the way and hitting a powerful steel wing, which is super effective as the momentum that Arcteta has been gaining from Giga Impact has forcing him to crash into the ground, leaving the area to be cracked. Thinking that Falconer that Arcteta seems to knock out from the recall, but surprisingly Arcteta simply roared in the sky and simply flies back towards PGR. And Faulkner thought that move should have knocked down, especially the landing, and as it become areas out of Faulkner its ability Rocky Helmet as moves like Giga Impact won't injure Aerodactyl because it will prevent any recoil damage, and Faulkner is beginning to sweat as Aerodactyl finally catches on, and Pidgeot attempted to move at the last second, but unfortunately for it, Aerodactyl seems to feint the attack and managed to grab Pidgeot and forcing both of them to fly down and is about to climb up to the speed as Aerodactyl man is spinning around trying to get some sort of momentum as it tries to use the most strongest Giga Impact it has ever done, which does manage to crash both Pokemon down, but unfortunately only one is standing as Aerodactyl is roaring in victorious, leaving Ash to be victorious from the battle, surprising Faulkner and Jessica Casey in the battle. But once Ash defeated Vulcan and earned his first badge in Johto, before he could celebrate, there is something shaking in the building, and Casey asks what's going on, and Faulkner looks up towards the sky as a certain building that he sworn to protect is beginning to shake, and he mutters of, "Oh no, what's going on?" as he quickly sent out one of his flying Pokemon Pidgeotto and simply glide onto its back and simply fly off, while Ashton has Eric Dactyl out of the battle and asks if Eric Dactyl could follow Faulkner. Eric Dactyl simply nods as Ash grabs onto it, but it seems like Casey is hesitant on climbing onto a little Pokemon by its back, and not sure if Eric Dactyl could take both of them in the sky. And Ash, having confidence with his Pokemon, such gets her to get on as the two follow Faulkner, and once Faulkner quickly hurried into the building, and Ash and Casey followed suit, and Ash is simply staring at Wagner a bit confused, as Wagner is in a shocked state, looking at three statues, but the weird part, these statues seems to be broken. And then, once he knows these three statues has been broken, suddenly a huge roar covered the whole building, and Ash, as Jess and Casey and Fogg had to cover their ears. And once they opened their eyes, realizing there are three Pokemon, and not just any regular Pokemon. It seems to be beastal Pokemon, as three emerged from the smoke and seem to be one covered in some sort of brown form. One seems to be a bit of a yellow, but seems screaming with fury, and one seems to be more elegant. And I'll show what these three Pokemon as Ash simply tries to pull out his Pokédex and simply reads unknown. And and the three mythical beasts attacks the trio, and Ash quickly that Ash that is already been set up, but quickly realizes he needs since Ash that already had a heated battle, giving Ash that to be disadvantaged. So Ash simply sends out Venusaur to back it up as Wagner aids Ash in his pursuit, trying to stop the three creatures from attacking them. And even though Casey is a Pokemon trainer, but facing up three powerful Pokemon at once is simply too well overwhelming for her, and she knows for a fact that her Chikorita cannot help the other two, which forces Faulkner and Ash to protect Casey. But luckily enough, but luckily enough, but unfortunately, Aratata seems to be too overwhelmed and forces Ash to recall Aratata. And now Venusaur is focusing on two legend Pokemon at once, as one spit out fire and one spit out an ice beam at it, and forcing to counter, sending out Lapras to absorb the damage. And as Lapras and Venusaur pretty much protect each other, which leads Faulkner to face up against the one that's shooting out powerful thunders, which is a big mistake to Ash, but surprisingly, Faulkner, with the years' experience with his flying type, is managing to dodge away from the thunder strikes, which focus on his own battle with the two legendary. But unfortunately, once the mystical fire has been burst out from one Pokemon and one with a powerful Hydro Pump towards Venusaur, and it seemingly that Ash has figured out these two aren't just strong, they're really strong. And he might suggest in his head that these might be even legendary, because he met one particular legendary that has met this match of power, but not as great as he met Mewtwo years months ago, as the two overwhelmed Venusaur, but likely Venusaur isn't alone, as Lapras desperately tried to protect Venusaur by using its own body to attack it, but forces Lapras to be in a very critical situation, forcing Ash to go in front of these two injured Pokemon and simply blocks the two other Pokemon from attacking them, as Ash is standing in a guard protecting him, which thus gets the two beasts to hesitate for a moment, and quickly realizing this trainer seems to care about his Pokemon, and after looking to each other as they just simply ran off, including the one that Faulkner is fighting, leaving the cheers to be more confused and not sure what just happened. And that's where we're gonna end the episode there.